GM, good morning. Welcome to Milk Road Radio, the daily crypto show that's like a box of chocolates, except instead of chocolates, it's a box full of tasty investments. I'm Jay Hamilton, and we're joined by Zeneca. I'm talking about the Zeneca. He's pretty much crypto famous for building a portfolio that reached as high as 20 million USD in the last bull run. And today we are talking about what the F is going on with altcoins dropping 20 to 30% right now. Do we all need to freak out, or is this a buy low opportunity? We're going to let you know. ZKSync, what happened with that airdrop this week, and how do we feel about them going forward? We're going to talk about some Blast airdrop predictions, and then we might at the end touch on a nice victory for Ethereum versus the SEC. We'll see if we have time. Zeneca, welcome back to the show.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me. Should be a good show.
For those who haven't clued in yet, Zeneca is going to be a weekly regular guest moving forward. You're going to be able to hear him every Thursday. So make sure you tune in on every day, I hope. But definitely you're going to want to tune in on Thursdays to hear Zeneca. Okay, Zen, let's start before we jump in. Let's start on a bit of a personal question here. I'm going to share my screen. You put out a tweet yesterday. Let me just get this up here. You put out a tweet yesterday and you said, anyone I know and trust in Vegas that can give me cash for crypto, looking for $20,000 to $40,000 ideally. I don't know if you intended for this tweet to get as much attention as it did.
I did not. I thought it would just hardly anyone would see it. I didn't think it would have I didn't think it would result in anything, but people responded being like, "You hacked? Are you money laundering?" The answer is much less exciting. Basically, I'm in Vegas right now for the World Series of Poker. I used to be a professional poker player for 15 years, and to enter tournaments, you need cash or money in a way that's easy to enter these tournaments. And I have a bunch of crypto that I would like to get into cash, but you can go via, I guess, traditional means and end up paying a bunch of fees, and it takes many days to go from crypto to an exchange to a bank to somewhere in Vegas that you can access, and usually 5% plus in fees to go through all of that in several days. Or you can just find someone who has cash and is looking to get some crypto, and it's the ultimate original use case of crypto. It's like a peer-to-peer way of transferring financial value. That's the whole reason behind it. But yeah, the tweet blew up a little bit. A lot of people were like, you can't tweet this, you got to delete it. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything wrong. So I don't know. I did think about deleting it, but whatever.
It's because you're not American. You don't have that Americans fear.
Yeah.
So much. Don't attract attention to yourself in that way, right? So, you're in Oz, a little more chill of a lifestyle over there.
Yeah, Dubai/Australia. Yeah.
But you make a good point. We need better off-ramps for sure. And they're going to come. And these are the simple solutions that will make a big difference long-term that we don't even think about right now. And I think you're right. I think it should be peer-to-peer, and very likely there will be some sort of tech built in the next year or so. I'm sure somebody's already building it that's going to make it easy to do this.
Yeah. And it worked. I had a bunch of people reach out to me and be like, yeah, I can hook you up. I can sort it out for you. And it seems like it's going to work. Before this, being a poker player for so long, it was very normal to basically do the exact same thing, except instead of getting money out of crypto, you'd have money on a poker website like PokerStars or Full Tilt back when that was a big thing. And you wanted to play some live tournaments, and you're like, yeah, can I just send you some money on the site and you give me cash or whatever? And so it just felt like that. And actually, a lot of the people that replied to my tweet were poker players. And they were like, hey, yeah, we do this all the time, can hook you up, that kind of stuff.
What asset or token are you giving in exchange for the USD? Is it usually a stable coin, or
Oh yeah, it'll be USDC.
It'll be USDC. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Just, it's the most simple. I guess I could do ETH or something like that, but the plan is definitely USDC.
Then you got to deal with tax considerations, and that gets complex.
Yeah, that seems like a pain. Well, I'm still currently based in Dubai, so at least for me, the tax issue isn't there yet. But as of next month, I'll be moving back to Australia, so then I'll definitely be thinking about that going forward.
Right. Well, good luck in the poker tournament. I hope you turn that 20 or 40K into more.
Thank you. Boy, that would be great. Most likely, it's not going to happen, but actually, you know what? Maybe it will. I was talking to a friend a few weeks ago about something, and I said something like slightly negative or not positive, and she was like PVO. I was like, what the hell's PVO? Positive vibes only. So it's in my head all the time, like just PVO. Everything's positive vibes.
Optimistic as always. That's always been my line. I'd rather be an optimist and be wrong than be a pessimist and be right.
100%.
Okay, let's jump into the news of the day. First up, let's talk about altcoins. I'm going to bring up some charts here for those watching on YouTube. For those listening on the podcast, I'll explain what we're looking at. We're looking at L1s on CoinGecko. And you can just see, I mean, look, the whole market is red this week, especially the past few days have been particularly bad. You know, Bitcoin's down 7% as of this recording. ETH staying pretty flat. It's only down a few percent, but there was some exciting ETH news that came out that we'll talk about later in the show. So that kind of held that up. But like Solana down 13.8% on the week. You know, you go down the list, Cardano 13%, Avalanche 19%. A lot of red. And then if we go over to L2s, it's even worse. You know, Polygon down 11%, Mantle 10%, Stacks 31%, Arbitrum 17, Immutable 20, Optimism 13, Starknet 34%. So it's been a rough ride out there for altcoins in particular. I would love to just get your thoughts on this, but my question really where I want to go with this is, are we skipping altcoins in this cycle? Lots of people asking that question right now. Are you still feeling good about altcoin investments? What are your thoughts, Zen?
I don't think we're skipping altcoins, but I do think the treatment of altcoins this cycle is going to be different to all previous cycles. In the past, we had altcoin season. Like it was almost like pre-written, and everyone's seen that chart where it's like a first Bitcoin, and then like the other majors, and then altcoins, and then like meme coins and NFTs or whatever. I don't think we see that as cleanly anymore, perhaps never again, because the market has just evolved and matured so much. It's so much larger now that there's just simply not enough money for like every altcoin to pump at the same time. Usually it's now the case of if something is pumping, where is the money coming from? That's a question that everyone should always be asking. Like, where is the money coming from? Is it coming from outside the crypto space? Is it coming from ETF inflows? Is it coming from retail buying tokens? Or is it coming from other crypto participants who are, you know, either they were sitting on stables or they're selling off their Bitcoin or ETH or NFTs to buy an altcoin? And I think a lot of what we've been seeing over the last few months has been this whole PvP, crypto versus crypto participant, where they're selling off one asset to buy another. And that's why there's a lot of animosity on the timeline, and why, you know, a lot of people seem unhappy when, if you zoom out and look at Bitcoin and ETH, like they're hitting all-time highs or near all-time highs, but not everyone feels rich because a lot of people's bags were in the wrong things, and they didn't pump. So altcoins are definitely not dead. We will definitely see them pump. Certain ones are going to perform spectacularly, but we're not going to see that whole rising tide lifts all altcoin ship, I think, ever again. And I think it's more important than ever to sort of have a bag of the right altcoins and have a lot of conviction in the ones that you do hold.
And you obviously are you're less in meme coins, right? I think only about 5% of your portfolio is in meme coins.
Now it's like 5, maybe close to 10, but I think closer to 5. At certain points in the last few months, it's been 15% maybe, but that's about it.
But you're definitely like you're lower than some of the others in the space who have cranked up to 50% meme coins and are like risk on.
Oh yeah,
and taking massive bets. You know, so I think I would see you more as, if I could like categorize you as an investor, you're more of a safer long-term investor, if I can say that at all, in the crypto space. I know it's a little bit crazy, but I feel like you invest in more of like the network assets that you believe in, that have real fundamental tech, that have a roadmap that they can build something. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be my view.
I would say kind of. In theory, I like that idea, and I'm definitely moving in that direction. But even though I have like, you know, 7% meme coins, I still have like a 20 to 40% in NFTs, and another 20 to 30% in like other altcoins. And so if we look at purely, you know, Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, that's maybe only 20% of my overall portfolio. And then, some of the altcoins, I have a lot of deep long-term conviction in things like, layer twos that I think have a lot of staying power and protocols that I think will stick around. But when I think of someone that has that like safe, conservative, long-term bag, they're sitting on, 30% Bitcoin, 40% Bitcoin, 20% ETH, 10% Sol, 10, 15% stables. And then their like play bag is a total of 10 or 15%. And that's all meme coins, all altcoins, all NFTs. Whereas that bag, for me, is still too high, in my opinion. And I'm trying to correct that.
Yeah, I always forget how much NFTs you have still. It's like crazy.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. It used to be like 95% plus in my entire portfolio. It's I feel good about where it is now, but it's still probably too high.
Okay, let's go back to altcoins then. So, which you say yourself, there's too many altcoins now. We also, you make a great point. We're in a part of the market where we do not really. Everyone needs to remember that when you look at the way a bull run goes, we are not in the euphoric stage yet. That is hopefully coming. I think it comes, I don't know about you, Zen. I think it comes like late Q3, Q4, maybe even Q1 2025. Presidential election feels like the timing for me. What about you?
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think everything in this space is basically narrative driven. You have a narrative and then everyone latches onto it and then it builds momentum and then markets go crazy, or they go the other way when the narrative is negative sentiment. And I think that clearly the ETFs were a bullish narrative at the start of the year, and that propelled a lot of the market. And then I think the election will be a positive narrative, because I think we're probably for the first time ever going to see both parties come out pro crypto, because they're realizing that coming out anti crypto is alienating a significant percentage of the voting population in America. And it's not a good thing with the SEC news and everything. It really does seem like the tide is shifting. So I think that's going to be a strong narrative, and basically agree. Yeah, that's a good time for markets to hopefully pump.
Okay, so which altcoins are you bullish on? Do you have conviction in? Which ones maybe are you changing your mind on?
Probably the biggest one is BitTensor, Tau, the decentralized AI protocol. I built a pretty sizable position in it in the latter part of last year, and it's done very well for me. It's kind of stagnated a bit, and I would say I probably lost a bit of conviction in it as well, just doing a bit more research and looking at some other AI products coming out. But I do think AI is going to be a massive thing in the world. And speaking of narratives, we're going to have an AI narrative in crypto. We've had it before. It'll come again. And I think that BitTensor is probably one of the big ones to really pop off and go from there. Another narrative, gaming. I'm a big believer that the gaming market is going to explode. So Prime is probably my biggest altcoin bag in the gaming narrative. It's the token that powers a parallel ecosystem, and have been pretty bullish on it for a very long time. Then I've got a couple of like marketplace type exchange tokens, Tensor over on Solana, Blur. I'm a little unsure about. I've got a bunch staked for whatever the Blast airdrop is going to be. So we'll see next week and see how that performs. And then I think I will. I feel very bullish on Blast, and so I think I will get a pretty sizable airdrop just based on like the gold and the farming and the staking and everything I've been doing. And I plan to hold a decent amount of that moving forward. I think those are like my bigger altcoin bags. Aside from like some memes like Degen, Whiff, and Pack Moon are probably my biggest meme bags.
No L2s.
Not really, no. I think I am bullish on L2s, but I think we've seen a lot of them, and there's of all the L2s, Optimism is probably the one I'm most bullish on. I think of it more as an L1.5 because there's like L2s built on top of it. I think Optimism, Base, and Blast are probably the three that I'm most bullish on. Base and Blast don't have a native token yet, and Optimism does, but I've just, for whatever reason, never had a very sizable bag of it. I think I think Blast will probably be my big L2 bet. We'll see how that turns out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, anybody who can create the size that they've created without a token, I think, is a clear indication of their skill set. Base being the same thing. That's a big indicator to me. If you can build it,
Base is crazy. Yeah.
without a token, then okay, clearly you know how to attract users, which is the hardest part of this, is building that ecosystem of users and developers. And if you can do that without a token, then imagine what they'll do when they have a token, which, who knows if they do, but I think it's pretty obvious at some point whenever regulation figures themselves out, they will.
Yeah, I'm the most bullish on base than anything else.
Which is why you have DGen, I'm guessing. Is that's why you hold DGen? Like it's your base play. Yeah.
And I agree that DGen is like a proxy bet on base. I have a bunch of other random coins on base as well. But even though they've said explicitly we're not going to do a token, Optimism said for ages we're not going to do a token. It's a regulatory thing. Like you said, if and when that changes, I could see them doing one. I could also see them not doing one. I wouldn't be totally shocked if there's never a token, but I bet in the next 5 years there will be one.
Yeah, me too. We'll clip this recording and come back to it 5 years from now. Okay, let's go to the ZKSync airdrop that happened this week. Let me pull up the chart here. So ZKSync came in at a price of 28 cents. We're now trading down. We're at about 22 cents. So it's dropped a little bit, but it came in at quite I don't know about your feeling, but the market cap came in at about $1 billion, even over $1 billion. It was like just over $1 billion. It reached as high as 1.1 billion. Now we're sitting at about 840 million market cap. And then fully diluted value came in at, I think it was over 5 billion when they first opened. And now we're sitting at about 4.7 billion. So we've had quite a range here. It's only been a few days. What are your thoughts on ZKSync? Did you get this airdrop? What did you do with your tokens?
I'm eligible for it. I haven't claimed it or done anything with it because I've been like traveling on the road this last week. But I think Pudgy Penguins got an allocation for this one, if I'm not mistaken. And I actually got really lucky because I sold a penguin a couple of weeks ago, but it was after the snapshot. So I got an extra penguin's worth of allocation. But yeah, like I said, I haven't done anything with it. I've literally just been sitting on it unclaimed if I even need to claim it. Kind of been watching it a little bit from afar, seeing people talk about it on the timeline. Basically, that's my involvement. I will probably sell some of it. My general approach to airdrops, I used to hold way too much, way too long, and now I think sell some percentage, early on, take some profits. Even there's certain airdrops I'm selling all of early on now just to keep my portfolio manageable, because at a certain point, if you've been using blockchains for years and start getting airdrops and start, even if you say, I'm going to hold 20%, 50%, you end up with dozens and dozens of tokens that are hard to manage. So just for like cleansing and sanity, I think it makes sense to sell more. But yeah, I haven't made any firm decisions about exactly what I'm going to do with this airdrop and when.
Any thoughts on ZKSync long term? I mean, it wasn't on your list of L2s that you already mentioned. Are you just kind of don't have the time to pay attention to every L2? So this is just one of those that fits in that category?
Basically, yeah. I would say I'm ambivalent towards it at this point. I haven't done significant research, not enough to form a strong opinion.
Okay. Let's talk about Blast. So Blast TGE is next week, June 26th, and you're obviously going to, you've got a lot of Blast Gold, I believe. Tell us what are your expectations around this airdrop? What's your plan?
Yeah, there's been a lot of speculation and numbers being thrown around about what is Blast Gold going to be worth, how's the airdrop going to be, what percentage are they going to distribute, what's it going to, like what FDV and market cap is going to launch at. NFT Stats on Twitter does a great breakdown analysis of this, where he looks at Arbitrum and other, like Optimism, other L2s, and compares what they did at launch, what they're at now, looks at like the Blur airdrop to try and get an idea of what percentage might be given out. And his estimates for Blast Gold are around like $7.50 per gold. I always try to be a little more conservative. So in my head, I'm putting it around $5. I think I would be shocked if it's significantly less than that. Again, unless like the market completely just falls off a cliff, which should be a pretty damn big airdrop for the people that farmed it. There are people out there with literally hundreds of thousands of gold, and quite a lot of people with like 5,000 plus gold. In terms of what I'm going to do, sell versus hold, I think it's probably what I said before. I'll sell some percentage because I have put in a significant amount of time and capital farming over the last few months, and just having Blur and ETH staked on Blur and Blast since I think late last year. But because I am bullish on Blast, I'll definitely be holding some percentage of it. I just don't know what that is. I always keep coming back to the whole, it has native yield, and that is a really, really cool concept that no other chain has, as far as I'm aware, yet. And it creates, for apps and dApps, these interesting business models that are just not possible without it. So I am bullish on it. I'm a little scared as well because so much of the activity is just fueled by this Ponzi-nomics airdrop farming game. And when the carrot disappears, if the carrot disappears, what's going to happen? My bet is that it won't disappear and there'll be some new incentive structure implemented. But yeah, we're bullish on Pac-Man. We hope for the best. PVO.
PVO, positive vibes only. I love it. Okay, we'll keep you guys updated, those listening on Blast next week. We'll probably be chatting about it again with Zeneca next week, so keep an eye on that. Let's chat quickly before we wrap up about Ethereum and their big win here. So what happened here, for those who missed it, was on Tuesday evening, I believe it was, the SEC sent a letter to Consensus letting them know that basically the line from the letter is, we do not intend to recommend an enforcement action by the commission against your client being Consensus, against your client Consensus Software Inc. with respect to this investigation. And this investigation is against Ethereum 2.0. So basically, Ethereum wins. Ethereum is a commodity, which isn't a surprise because they already announced the Ethereum ETF is coming. So this is sort of the next ball to drop. But it's always fun to celebrate, and this is exciting news. What are your thoughts on this, Zen?
Yeah, I think there's been like this sword hanging over the ETH community and crypto community for years about, is ETH a security? Is it a commodity? If it's a security, that's really bad and terrible for everyone and not good news. So this was just great. It was like a nice positive news event. I think, like you said, it's not surprising given they approved the ETH ETF, and I think everyone had basically assumed that they had decided internally that ETH is not a security, or accepted that is not a security. But it's still nice to get it officially on paper like this. And I think I saw Hayden from Uniswap tweet out like, it would be great if now they can drop their case against Uniswap, which I think that they probably will now, and that will be a big win for DeFi. And like I mentioned earlier, it really does seem like the tide is turning, and at least in the US, which was one of the most negative countries towards, or animus countries towards, the whole crypto space previously, seems to be changing their tune. A lot of positive news coming out and it gives like clarity to devs. It gives security to devs. It allows people to build and experiment and tinker without fear of the SEC hanging over their heads, which is very, very bullish. Crypto is better than it's ever been in so many ways. It's worse than it's ever been in some ways, that the whole gambling, meme coin, casino, celebrity, terrible trash culture. But if you zoom out and look at the technology and look at the adoption and look at the use cases and look at the perception from governments and even the public, I think it is improving in a significant way. So I'm giga bullish on crypto as I've ever been.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Crypto is better than it's ever been. There's always going to be, in a new tech, there's always going to be people that take advantage. There's always going to be people, particularly when this new tech is so connected to the monetary system. But what a time. It is such a good time. And yet the timeline is on Twitter is just like so negative right now. So thanks for bringing the positive vibes today. Yeah, we need this, man. This is fantastic.
No, I've been feeling like I don't even want to be on Twitter, or I don't want to be like, it's very negative out there, and it's just like, go touch grass. It's summer in most of the world. Come back in a month or two or three, zoom out, look at, like, think about where we were a year ago. Every single person in crypto would have killed for prices like where they are today. But just because we're down a little bit from a month ago, or altcoins are down a little bit more, people are at arms at each other's throats. So zoom out and chill.
I love it. Zoom out and chill. All right, Zen, thanks so much for joining us today. Always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, as always.
In case you missed it, Fox Corporation and Time have partnered to combat misinformation in journalism using Fox's Verify protocol. Now, this protocol, built using Polygon's CDK, uses cryptography to permanently link digital content with its origin and edit history, ensuring transparency and trustworthiness, really solving one of the biggest issues we have with news and misinformation in today's world. Exciting partnership with Time Magazine getting involved, being the first third party to use this Verify protocol, and great to see such a big organization like Fox using blockchain to solve a real world problem. That's all for today, folks. Thanks for listening in. Go have yourselves a wicked awesome day.
Thank you for listening to Milk Road Radio, the easiest path to get smarter about crypto. If you like this episode, share it and hit subscribe or follow so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, then we'll leave a link to Milk Road Pro as well, your #1 resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this podcast is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Crypto is risky, so you should never invest more than you're willing to lose. Thank you, friends, and we'll see you in the next one.